Welcome to the Ultimate OBLITUS CASA Guide. OBLITUS CASA is a FNAF-style game made by none other than Radiant's team, the same developers of Chuck E. Cheese's rebooted and Five Nights at Treasure Island. You could say this game is if Treasure Island had suddenly gotten a glow-up. And you're in a cabin, I guess? In this video, I'll go over all these topics you're seeing on the screen. Before we begin, I just want to say that this guide was easily the longest it took me to make out of all other guides in the channel. There's actually so much in this game, and explaining everything and making strategies for everything took me a really long time. So if you want to see more in-depth guides on other FNAF games / fan games, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Obviously, we're only in the intro, so you don't have to go liking the video yet. Though I think this is most likely my best guide so far, so I hope you enjoy it. But without further ado, let's get to the guide. Night 1 is when you get introduced to where you'll be spending the next 6 nights. 7 if you decide to go for the custom night. Like with every FNAF game, this night is more for you to learn the game's mechanics than anything else. When you begin the game, you get thrown into a room in the cabin. In this room, you have 2 doors, a window, and an attic. These will be the spots the characters will try to come from. Aside from that, you also have a camera button and a notepad. One thing I want to clear up before starting the explanation of everything is that to access the buttons, you need to pan a certain way. For the camera button, you gotta pan towards the center of the room. For the notepad, you have to pan towards the right. And lastly, for the attic, you gotta pan towards the left. Now let's begin with the camera system. By hovering over the camera button, you'll enter the camera system. There are 9 cameras you can click on, and if you pay attention to the map, the 2 closest cams to your room are cams 4 and 6. Each camera around the cabin has a lure button and a flash button. The lure button is pretty self-explanatory. By holding down this button, you can lure a character that's in an adjacent camera to where you're luring from. To know which cameras are adjacent to where you're currently at, simply look at the connectors on the map. One important detail about the lure is that it's not infinite. Each camera has a set amount of lure time, so if you keep luring characters into that same camera over and over again, the lure will run out and you won't be able to bring anyone there anymore. The flash button is used to flash the camera you're currently on. For now it's pretty useless, but as we progress through the game, it'll find its use pretty soon. Now for the notepad. This notepad is used for 2 things. 1. Knowing what the characters do throughout the nights, and 2. Getting rid of Belial. Belial is a character that tries to escape by drawing a sketch of itself on your notepad. To prevent them from doing so, you have to erase this drawing from time to time. If you end up forgetting to erase Belial, they'll enter your room. Once inside, the lights will start flickering and any threats active will move towards you way faster. Where is Impurity? What? What? Huh? What? Belial has a progress bar that goes from 0 to 1000. This bar will start filling up every second that you're not looking at the notepad. The rate at which the bar fills up changes depending on the night you're on. These are the values for each night. For the custom night, this rate is dependent on the total AI value of all the characters you have active. But to simplify things, every character on 20 AI will add 2.14 units to the fill-up rate. And if you're playing True Nightmare, the rate will be of 25.62 progress per second. The last mechanic left is the attic. By hovering over the attic button, you can enter the attic. In here, you're given a lighter, which for now is completely useless, but soon you'll get to use it. And that's all the mechanics explained. On night 1, there's only one threat for you to deal with: Willy. Now, this Willy isn't just a face that stares at you in the cameras and you can't stare back. You could say this one is William Afton. As in, he acts like Springtrap from FNAF 3. Willy appears at cam 1 and will try to move into your room from either cam 6 or cam 4. Before he reaches one of those cams, Willy has to go through each cam in his path. Once Willy reaches cam 3 or 4, an ambience noise starts playing. If Willy gets to move when he's in one of the rooms adjacent to yours, he'll open the respective door and soon after jump scare you. However, Willy entering your room doesn't mean game over just yet. Before being jump scared, you're allowed to quickly lure them back to the camera they entered from, avoiding losing the night. The way Willy picks his path to you is a bit confusing, but pay close attention. If Willy is a cam 1, they'll always move either sideways or downwards in the map. This applies for other cams too, but I'm just using cam 1 as an example. So, in the case of cam 1, they won't be able to move into cam 7 on their own, only if you lure them there. Willy can only move towards your office and never backwards, so again, in the case of cam 1, they can only move into cam 3, not cam 5. The only two cams that make Willy take a 50-50 of where he'll move next are cams 8 and cam 2. From cam 8, he can move to either cam 7 or cam 2, and from cam 2, he can move to either cam 4 or cam 3. To prevent Willy from ending the attempt, you must keep them away from your door obviously. There are a few cams that are hands down the best to keep Willy in. One of them is cam 5. This cam is really good because it's a dead end, meaning that Willy's only option to move next is cam 1. This cam is also a 3 cam distance, meaning Willy needs to move into 3 other cams before reaching your office. The next cam is cam 9. It's pretty much the same as cam 5, but on the other side of the building. You can also see Willy through the window when he's in this cam, helping you keep track of him even if you're off cams. This cam will not be so useful in the later nights though. The third cam is cam 1. This cam isn't the furthest away possible, but it's similar to the cam 5 strat in FNAF 3.
Hello?
As soon as Willy moves, you'll begin hearing the ambient sound I mentioned before. So when you hear the sound effect, immediately lure Willy back to cam 1. Cam 7 is just as good as cam 5, since it's also a 3 cam distance to your office. And remember, Willy can't move into cam 8, so they'll always take the path of cam 1, 3, then 6. And that's about it for the first night. There's not too much going on here, and Willy is pretty slow, so you shouldn't have much trouble with it. Just make sure to remember erasing the notepad every now and then. Whoa! Did I die? After beating night 1, a scripted death happens, sending you to post-mortem. Post-mortem is a minigame that only happens when you die during a night. The goal here is to find and click on 3 Mickey heads throughout the building. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because later in the video, there will be a whole section about this minigame. For now, make sure to regularly check the 2 doors in the office, and if you see someone, except Goofy, stab the little voodoo doll. In cams, if you see Minnie, quickly search cams, and if they enter your office, flip up the camera like Golden Freddy. Some Mickey heads can be traps, so be careful of that. And lastly, don't take too long. Oh, I see one. No! Wait, I win? I think I won. That was scripted death. What is going on here? Use the lighter to make your way through the tunnels. Turn the lighter off to listen for the sound. It will guide you. It is looking for you. Try to avoid it as much as possible. If you are found, run away. You can lose them by turning often. Follow the sound, find the key. You know what has to be done. What? Once you get past the scripted post-mortem section, you're thrown into the tunnels. This is another minigame that happens after every night, and you must complete it to access the next night. The tunnels are basically a big maze, and your goal here is to find and collect a key, then return to the entrance, all while avoiding one character, Hourglass. To help you see things, you're given a lighter. but if you have it turned off, a sound can be heard. This sound basically guides you to the key, so you should consider staying in the dark a little bit just to know where to go. The big issue here is that while you roam around the tunnels, Hourglass is also roaming and trying to find you. Because the tunnels are very dark, you cannot see Hourglass, so you have to rely on sound to track where they are. Hourglass makes heavy footstep sounds and they get louder and louder the closer Hourglass is to the player. The way Hourglass works is simple. At the start of this tunnel section, they'll appear in a predetermined spot on the map. This spot changes depending on which night you're on. Hourglass will pick a direction to move to, and once they reach an intersection, they'll then pick another random direction to move to. This includes where they came from, but it's much more likely they pick a direction towards the player. Hourglass moves around at 50% speed, and once they get near the player, they get slowed down to 20% speed, to give time for the player to turn around and run. If Hourglass sees you, they'll begin chase mode, where their speed will get bumped up to 90%. The reason why they go to 90% and not 100 is because Hourglass at 100% speed moves as fast as the player's running speed. So if they were to chase you at 100% speed, you'd get killed as soon as you turn a corner. While Hourglass is chasing you, your goal is to lose them by turning as many corners as you can. Every 2 turns you make, Hourglass gets slowed down by 10%. After making 4 turns, they'll lose you and start roaming around normally again. Turn left! Turn right! Oh my god. As for the key, it'll always sit in a special room that always appears in the same spot in the tunnels. For night 1, this is the map you're in. It's a 3x3 grid with the players spawning north and Hourglass appearing southeast, right on the key room, which is represented by the purple dot. Shout out to Niko for this visual representation, by the way. I'll be mentioning his name a lot more throughout the video, trust me. Also, the reason why I mentioned the tunnels being a 3x3 grid is because on the later nights, the map layout will get bigger and bigger. Once you enter the key room and pick up the key, Hourglass will move at 100% speed until you reach the exit. This is why most of the times you enter the room, you'll hear Hourglass get close really fast. Oh, there you go. What is happening? Out of order? What? Help! What am I supposed to do? Now your goal is to simply leave. The exit will always be where you first spawned in. If you look at the map I gave, you can follow that. But if you don't want to look at any maps to find the exit or the key room, the strategy is to just hang around the edges of the map. Both the key room and the exit will always be along the edges, so eventually you'll find them. In Night 2, you get introduced to 2 new characters, Daisy and Corrupted Face. Daisy is a threat that lurks in the camera system. After switching cams a few times, she'll appear in the camera and make some noise. When this happens, you have a few seconds to flash the camera she's currently in. Taking too long or switching off their camera will result in Daisy appearing in the office. While in the office, she prevents you from opening cams for 7 seconds. On some harder challenges, getting hit by Daisy pretty much means game over. Corrupted Face is our attic character. When you hear a knocking on wood sound, that means Corrupted Face is in the attic. As soon as you hear the sound cue, head into the attic. There, Corrupted Face will be standing, and to get rid of him, you have to shine the light over him with your lighter. You have to do this twice before they're fully dealt with. As for the strategy for this night, it's really not that complicated. Move Willy into one of the furthest cams, and just try not switching cams that much. As long as you don't switch cams, Daisy can't spawn, right? The only things you have to pay attention to are corrupted face and the notepad. Make sure to listen to Face's sound cue when it happens, and don't forget to erase the notepad every now and then. Aside from that, this night is very easy. Night 3 is where things start getting tricky. In this night, Photo Negative Minnie gets added. Minnie starts in Camp 2 and will work their way towards the office. At first you might think this is Impurity from Fnatic, and you're kinda right, but not really. Although they look alike at first, their mechanics are a bit different. In Fnatic, Impurity would slowly move cam by cam until entering the office, and to stop her, you have to shut off the cam she's in, freezing her timer to move to the next cam. Photo Negative Minnie requires you to flash the camera she's currently in, and instead of just pausing her move timer, she actually gets pushed back a camera. When you flash her at cam 2, she'll move to cam 8, and when you flash her at cam 8, she'll get pushed back to cam 9. Minnie has 3 paths she can take. The long path that consists of cam 8, 7, 1, 3, and 6. The normal path, which is cams 8, 2, 3, and 6. And the short path of cam 8, 2, and straight to 4. Once she enters the office, there's no last chance to pull her back like Willy. I mean, imagine if you could flash your own office. That would be...
Deploying flashbang.
The strategy for this night is pretty simple. At the beginning of the night, you'll want to lure Willy all the way to cam 9 and flash Minnie all the way back to cam 9 as well. One important thing about Minnie is that you cannot flash and push her back when she's floating at the beginning of the night. So wait until she moves to this spot and then flash the camera. The idea of the strategy is to keep luring Willy to cam 9 whenever he leaves, and if you see Minnie disappear, move into cam 8 and flash her back to cam 9. Once the lure runs out, you're gonna keep Willy at cam 8 instead, making it even easier to deal with Minnie, since you just have to wait until she appears and flash the camera. Don't switch cams too fast because of Daisy, and pay attention to the attic sounds, and this night will be a piece of cake. On night 4, the game comes at you with full force. This night, the last 2 characters from the main nights get active, Dippy and Pete. Dippy is basically a second Willy. However, instead of going to one of your doors, he'll move towards cam 9, where your window is. If Dippy reaches cam 9, he'll break your window, jump scaring you shortly after. This character makes the game way harder, since it's very easy to lose either Willy or Dippy when you come back from an attic attack. To make sure that doesn't happen, you must always lure both Willy and Dippy to the same cam. Having them split up will most certainly mean game over. As for Pete, they actually help the player more than anything. Pete spawns in the attic and makes the same sound as Corrupted Face. When you head up into the attic and you see their silhouette, do not use the light around them, or else you'll get jump scared. If you see Pete in the attic, simply ignore them and head back down. The reason why I say he's helpful is because if Pete appears instead of Corrupted Face, you're actually just saving time to check on any of the camera characters. The strategy for this night is going to consist of a few steps. First, you're going to lure both Willy and Dippy to cam 5. Once they're both there, flash Minnie all the way back to cam 9. Now, just keep luring Willy and Dippy back whenever they move, and check if Minnie's at cam 8 and flash her back. You'll keep doing this until you hear an attic sound. Once that happens, make sure the 3 characters I just mentioned are in order and move into the attic. Deal with whoever is up there and head back down. Once you're back down from the attic, erase the notepad and get back in cams. First thing you're gonna do when in cams is check if Willy and Dippy have moved and lure them back. Then check for Minnie again at cam 8 and repeat this cycle. At a certain point of the night, the lure on cam 5 is gonna run out, but this is not that big of an issue. What you're gonna do when that happens is simply lure Willy and Dippy, but on cam 1 instead. All I needed were cams 5 and 1 before the night ended, but if you do end up needing a third cam, you can use cam 7. And that's about it. Just make sure Willy and Dippy don't get separated or Minnie doesn't get to move from cam 8 and you should be good.
We are friends now.
Once you beat Night 4 in the tunnel section, you begin Night 5, the Mother Night. For this night, every character we've seen so far is gone and replaced by one character, Mother, also known as Mikmik. Mikmik is basically a combination of Willy and Minnie. She has two versions, one with eyes and one without. If her eyes are blank, you have to lure her to a different camera. If the eyes are visible, you have to flash the camera Mikmik is currently in. Like Willy and Minnie, Mikmik will try to enter the office through cams 4 or 6. The goal is to keep them as far away as possible. Mikmik cannot come in through the window, so cam 9 is where you want to keep them. When you flash Mikmik, they get pushed back one cam at a time until cam 9 anyway, so the game kinda hints that that's the best cam. Now, if it was just that one character in cams, this night would be ridiculously easy. But that's not the case. Mother will show up in the camera after you switch cams 4 times. They act like Daisy, but the difference is that if you don't flash them fast enough or leave the camera before dealing with them, that camera will stop working permanently. So make sure to count your camera switches or just don't switch cams too fast. Mother also appears on your notepad instead of Belial. She works pretty much the same though, slowly drawing herself on the paper. The difference here is that if you let her build up fully, she will instantly jump scare you. The progress rate for this night is of 18.3 units per second, meaning it takes 54.6 seconds for you to get jump scared. Now, I did say that everyone gets replaced by one character, but that's actually a lie. In the attic, we still have the face, but it's not the corrupted face you're used to dealing with. A much stronger variant of it replaces them instead, called Inkblot Face. Inkblot Face is the same as corrupted face, but instead of taking 2 flashes to deal with them, you have to flash the lighter on him 6 times. In Night 5, Inkblot Face is the first character to reach max AI, meaning you only have 10 seconds to deal with them the moment you hear an attic sound. When you begin this night, your main goal will be to push Mikmik all the way back to cam 9. Since Inkblot Face is at max AI, they will be spawning pretty frequently, so when you hear an attic sound, you should go deal with it. However, there's one thing I haven't mentioned about the attic. When you hear the attic sound, make sure to check if Mikmik didn't disappear from the cameras. The reason why is because Mikmik can be the one who moved into the attic, and they work similar to Pete, except you don't die by shining the light on them. You die by simply going into the attic at all. So always check for Mikmik when the sound cue happens. Another thing you should do when you hear the attic sound is push Mikmik back to cam 9 if they moved into cam 8. Dealing with Inkblot Face takes a good amount of time, so you want to make sure that Mikmik is as far away as they can before taking this time commitment. Mikmik on Night 5 moves every 7 to 7.3 seconds, so once you come back from the attic, erase the notepad and immediately check cam 8. As long as you don't take too long in the attic, Mikmik should only have moved one camera, so just lure them back to cam 9 and repeat this cycle. What the hell is happening? Let me back in camps. Oh shit, I think they're in cam.
Oh my god, bro. Oh hell no, man. What the fuck?
At 3 AM, Mikmik evolves into this monstrosity and becomes a much faster version of itself. Now, they move every 4 to 5.75 seconds. This means that when you come back from the attic, they'll most likely already be in either cam 2 or cam 7, so you should start checking those cams instead. Keep holding out for 3 more minutes and you should be able to complete the base 5 nights of OBLITUS CASA. Ah, fake. We won. I know I was winning because of have fun there. Funny. Easy peasy. Once you complete the main game, you unlock everything else. The extras menu, the custom night menu, creepypasta challenges, etc. By hitting the custom night... What? Hello? There's another night? Wait. Oh, okay guys, sorry, run it back. Night 6 is basically Night 5, but on hard mode. Your threats are still Mick, the notepad, and Inkblot face, but they are overtuned to hell. The first change you'll immediately notice is that Mick's already on phase 2 from the very beginning of the night, meaning they're already the faster version. But if that's not enough, don't worry, this game is not done yet. Mick's speed is way faster than in Night 5, going from a move timer of 4 to 5.75 seconds to a whopping 2.6 to 3.73 seconds. This speed change is absolutely diabolical. What? What the fuck, bro? Along with Mick's insane buff, the other Mother characters also get buffed. Mother Daisy now appears after 2 cam switches instead of 4. Although she's at 18 AI, this is the same amount of cam switches as a 20 AI regular Daisy. Mother Belial is also a bit faster, getting 21.96 progress a second, meaning it takes 45.5 seconds until they jump scare you. One interesting but clever change is that Mick actually has a lower chance to go into the attic on Night 6 than Night 5, meaning most of the times you hear an attic sound, it'll be Inkblot face. The reason why this is clever is because Mick in the attic is mostly a benefit to the player, so reducing the chance of it happening makes the night overall harder. The strategy for this night will be a bit different from Night 5, mostly because of Mick's insane speed. When the night begins, you want to bring Mick to Cam 9 like normal. The only real difference here is what to do after Inkblot face and the notepad. As soon as you bring Mick to Cam 9, Inkblot face will most likely be in the attic. You want to make sure Mick has just moved into Cam 9 before you go and deal with Inkblot face. After going into the attic and dealing with that threat, go back down and immediately check Cams 4 and 3. And I mean immediately. If you see Mick at Cam 3, lure him back to Cam 9 and repeat the cycle. The same goes for Cam 4. But you should really make sure you're fast with it because they're one move away from entering the office. If you don't see Mick at Cam 3 or 4, then they probably rolled a high value on their movement timers and haven't reached either one of the cams. Once they're back to Cam 9, quickly erase the notepad and move into the attic again because Inkblot face will be there. Just be careful that it isn't Mick in there. You can know this by seeing if Mick disappears from your window as the attic noise plays. And that's the Night 6 cycle. If you follow these steps and don't take too long with the attic attacks, Night 6 will be completed. Yes! Yes! Reload! Nice! Let's go RNG, baby! Before we head into the rest of the game, I want to take a second to show you guys the Easter eggs in OBLITUS CASA. I know what you're thinking. This isn't in the video summary board I showed in the beginning. Well, consider this an Easter egg too. Throughout your OBLITUS CASA journey, you might find an Easter egg or two as you play. Or in my case, completely miss them. The first Easter egg, which isn't really that much of an Easter egg since it's always there, is the Donald toy. In the office, on top of a shelf, there's a Donald Duck toy, and by clicking it, it makes a quack noise. The second and third Easter eggs are the Beast and Pluto. They both have a 1 in 300 chance to appear every time you go into the attic. If any threats are in the attic, they'll only appear after the attack. Our fourth Easter egg is the Five Nights at the Krusty Krab Chapter 3 Easter egg. Every time you enter Camp 2 or Camp 9, there's a 1 in 1600 chance that you encounter Hammerhead or Squidward. They don't really do anything though, and will stay there until you switch camps. The fifth Easter egg is These Nuts. I'm not even trolling, it's literally called These Nuts. Every time you enter Camp 2 or Camp 5, there's a 1 in 1000 chance that These Nuts speaks to you and says one of the following lines.
After thinking about it, I'm probably only showing up here because of fan service. Great. Well, now that I'm here, I can make things a little more charming than they previously were. Oh, great. They really had to redo my voice, didn't they? You know, I'm really not supposed to be in one piece right now, but whatever. I personally feel the lure of this game would be a lot more interesting if you weren't picking it apart every 5 seconds.
The sixth Easter egg is Golden Mickey. Every time you flip up the camera on nights 1 through 4, there's a 1 in 2000 chance that Golden Mickey will spawn in the office. Once he spawns, you get anywhere from 8 to 12 seconds before getting jump scared. This one is obviously just a FNAF 1 Golden Freddy reference. The seventh Easter egg is Sparky, which is one of the Easter eggs I got during my playthrough. Every time you face the center of the room, there's a 1 in 300 chance Sparky appears on the very right side of the office. After you see him, he'll slowly fade away. The eighth Easter egg is the hallucinations. Every 20 seconds, there's a 1 in 250 chance you start seeing hallucinations of either Willy, Minnie, Pete, or the face. The ninth Easter egg is the hanging tunes. On night 5 and 6, there's a 1 in 100 chance you encounter one of the characters we've seen up until now, except Dippy. And they're, floating. Yeah, that's it. The 10th Easter egg, listen, I know, it just keeps going, is the Lisa phone call, who's apparently from Fnati 2014. Like, the old Fnati. This is one of the easiest Easter eggs to get. Every time you click on the phone in the office, you have a 1 in 50 chance to get the Lisa phone call.
Like I was saying, it doesn't make much sense anymore, does it? I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but I couldn't exactly blame you if you did. I spent a while thinking about if there really was something after it, and maybe if I should be glad there's something at all. But I just... Jake? I still don't know if I'm talking to you, but if you are you, I'm begging you, please don't forget about me. At least tell me you remember the name.
The third to last Easter egg is the Shade Minnie nose honk. In post-mortem, if you manage to click on Shade Minnie's nose when she enters the office, it makes a noise. The second to last Easter egg is the Five Nights at Treasure Island Oddities. By clicking on the star you receive for beating night 5/6, you enter a new game, Fnati Oddities. There's an entirely new game here. I'm honestly surprised this is an Easter egg even. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me make a guide on this game or even beat its max mode. And now for the last Easter egg. I left what is in my opinion the best Easter egg for last, the Mortimer Easter egg. Mortimer is in OBLITUS CASA, baby! On the first 4 nights, at 12:30 AM exactly, there's a 1 in 250 chance that every character gets deactivated and Mortimer appears. Once Mortimer shows up, he'll move cam from cam until entering the office. There's nothing you can do to stop him. Once he enters the office, you'll get jump scared. At least you get a unique game over screen though. And with that, that's nights 1 through 6 explained. Now it's time for the post-game content. In this section, I'll go over the Creepypasta challenges, post-mortem in more depth, and to finish the guide, the custom nights, where true nightmare resides. I'll begin with the post-mortem minigame. By clicking on the custom night button, you get taken into the custom night menu. However, if you right-click the custom night button, you get to the post-mortem custom night menu. Here, you can change all the post-mortem characters' AI and play some preset challenges. You might have noticed that next to the character icons, there are some modifiers you can turn on. These are the extra challenges that add up to the difficulty of the minigame. Also, in this menu, you get to read all the characters' descriptions, and let me tell you, it's much easier to understand what they do here than in the actual tutorial night. But obviously, I'm not just gonna tell you to go and read the descriptions. So let's go over all 6 post-mortem characters and how they work. Also, before we begin, I just want to mention that I'll only go over values for the 20 AI version of the characters. If you want to know the absolute ins and outs of the game, including the equations for the characters' movements at any AI level, I'll be linking the Google Doc explaining all of OBLITUS CASA's AI, made by Niko Frost. And I'll say it again, massive shout out to this guy. This document is where I got most of the information I'm passing over to you guys. Let's begin with Shade Photo Negative Mickey and Shade Oswald. They are 2 of the 3 door characters in this minigame. Their mechanic is very simple, but the way they move around the building is a little complex. When you begin the night, PNM will spawn in either cam 4, 5, or 6, and Oswald will appear in either cam 8 or 10. Now here's where things get a little dank. This is a visual representation of how PNM and Oswald move around the building. What's in blue means it's their only move, but what I want you to pay attention to is cams 2 and 4. These are the only 2 cams that have 2 options for either of them to move to. What's in red means the least optimal choice, and what's in green, the most optimal choice. Also, don't mind cam 9, no one can enter that camera, except one which I'll talk about later. But anyway, if PNM or Oswald move into cam 4, they have the chance to move backwards to cam 6. And yes, every time they move into cam 4, they could go back to cam 6 again, meaning that with best luck, they'll never enter the office. Once they appear in one of the hallways, you get 4 seconds to stab YBF to get rid of them. After dealing with PNM or Oswald, they'll appear again in either cam 1, 6, 3, 5, or 10. At 20 AI, they move every 3 to 4.7 seconds. The fastest they can reach your office is in 6 seconds, and the longest they can take is, well, forever. The third door character I was talking about is Shade Goofy. This character might have the most simple mechanic in any FNAF game. They also roam around the camera like the other 2 I just mentioned. When he appears in one of the hallways, shining the light on him sends him away. And that's it. You get 4 seconds to do this or else he'll take YBF from you, making it impossible to deal with Shade PNM and Oswald. The next character in post-mortem is Shade Minnie. She appears in one of the 9 cameras and moves around randomly. If you stare at her in cams for half a second, she'll force the camera down and appear in the office. You get 1.7 seconds to pull up the camera again or you get jump scared. She's basically our Golden Freddy of this minigame. Now, you might be thinking, well, just don't stare at her in cams, duh. But it's really not so simple. You only get half a second to react to her and switch to another camera, meaning it's almost unavoidable to have her appear in the office. The only thing that really stops her from attacking you is coincidentally not clicking the camera she's currently in. However, she moves in cams every 0.4 to 1.2 seconds, so eventually you'll stumble upon her. Once you deal with Minnie, she'll disappear for 6 seconds, preventing you from getting chain attacked over and over. Shade Donald is the one responsible for the trap Mickey heads I mentioned earlier. What he does is he has a random chance of infecting the next camera you switch to. At 20 AI, he has a 46% chance of infecting the camera. If there's a Mickey head in that camera, the Mickey head will get possessed. This is indicated by the head flickering and glitching. If you try to collect a possessed Mickey head, Donald will show up on the screen making a bunch of noise and not allowing you to do anything for 10 seconds. If you don't click on the possessed head and switch cams, Donald will disappear for 8 seconds, meaning if you see a possessed Mickey head, simply switch the camera and then switch back and collect it. This doesn't work on fake heads though, which I'll get to in a second. The last character in post-mortem is Sadie, or Sadie, I don't know how you pronounce it. Sadie is basically a time limit for you to collect all Mickey heads. Sadie has 4 stages. She progresses through each stage every 5 minutes and 33 seconds, meaning you have a total of 22 minutes and 12 seconds before she jump scares you. I know what you're thinking right now. That's an insanely long timer. And to make this seem even more ridiculous, every Mickey head you collect, Sadie goes back 1 stage and resets her movement timer. But let me explain. This is Sadie's equation for the time it takes for her to progress a stage. See these big ass numbers? What probably happened is Radiant's team meant for these values to be in milliseconds, which would in turn make it so she jump scares you in only 1 minute and 20 seconds. Much more reasonable. But these values are actually in frames, and that makes Sadie pretty much non-existent. An even more funnier fact is Sadie at 1 AI takes 53 minutes to kill you. Like, you could literally AFK, go buy some snacks, and come back and you'll still be alive. And that's our 6 post-mortem characters explained. However, I still haven't even talked about the Mickey heads themselves. Silly me. Anyway, Mickey heads can spawn in every camera except cam 9. These are the spots they show up on for every camera. A Mickey head spawns in after 5 seconds when the night begins, and then after 5 seconds every time you collect a Mickey head. Mickey heads cannot spawn on the same camera twice. However, they could alternate between 2 cams over and over. Mickey heads will most of the time not spawn in the camera you're currently looking at, but it could happen. The reason why it works like that is because the game basically re-rolls which camera a Mickey head will spawn in if it ended up trying to appear on your camera. But this only happens once, meaning that if a head tries spawning on the same camera as you 2 times in a row, it'll just give up and spawn there anyway. This and the previous mechanic don't delay Mickey heads from spawning. It'll still take 5 seconds the moment you start the night or grab a head. The last mechanic I gotta go over is the lantern fuel. Flashing one of the 2 halls actually takes a bit of lantern fuel. This is represented by the little house icon on the top right, next to the Mickey head count. The amount of fuel you have is dependent on the amount of heads you have to collect. On Limbo, you have a total of 2 minutes and 18 seconds of fuel. On True Limbo, you have 4 minutes and 33 seconds of fuel. Now let's go over the challenges. There are 4 challenges you can mess with before beginning post-mortem. These are Head Amount, Fake Heads, Flawless, and YBF Hide. The first challenge is very self-explanatory. Here you can tweak how many Mickey heads you have to collect before beating the minigame. This ranges from 1 Mickey head all the way to 99. If you've ever looked at a True Limbo completion and wondered why it takes from like 30 minutes to 40, this is why. The second challenge basically makes it so there are Mickey heads around the building that don't count towards the goal. This challenge adds 2 fake heads and clicking on one of them will make it fade away, not actually adding a head towards the count. Keep in mind that Shay Donald can still possess a fake head and clicking it will still trigger him, even if it's not actually a real head. The third challenge is probably the most difficult challenge of this minigame. Flawless. Flawless makes it so messing up a few things will cause Sadie to instantly kill the player. And these things are stabbing YBF when neither of the hallway characters are there, allowing Shade Goofy to take YBF, grabbing an infected Mickey head, and letting YBF escape forever. The last one probably got you a bit confused, but that's because I haven't explained the last challenge, YBF Hide. YBF Hide makes a YBF fall out of your hand if you're in the cameras for too long. YBF will hide if you stay in cams for a cumulative time of 15 to 20 seconds. When they hide, they'll appear in one of these 4 spots, and all you have to do is click on it to recover YBF. If YBF escapes and you stay in cameras for an extra 7.5 seconds, they'll disappear forever. With post-mortem fully explained, let's get to the 2 max modes tied with this minigame. By setting every character to max AI and having a Mickey head count of 50, you can play a challenge called Limbo. If you have a head amount of 99 and all the other challenges active, you can begin the true post-mortem max mode, True Limbo. These max modes are currently ranked at number 386 and 236 respectively. They aren't necessarily difficult challenges, but the biggest factor that makes them tough is the night length. Like I mentioned before, to complete the post-mortem minigame, you have to find all Mickey heads. With Limbo and True Limbo requiring 50 and 99 heads respectively, attempts on these challenges can take a really long time, especially since you're most likely used to the 6-minute nights. So in my opinion, these max modes require a decent amount of speed and endurance to be completed. The strategy for both of the challenges are very similar, since the only gameplay change True Limbo brings is YBF hiding every now and then. So the strategy I'll go over will apply for both those max modes. But anyway, I'll stop delaying and get to the Limbo/True Limbo strategy. At the beginning of the night, wait in the office for 5 seconds. Flash the left and right halls every now and then in case anybody appears. This wait is because Mickey heads have not spawned yet, so we're just waiting until they appear. Then, get in cams and check 1, 2, maybe even 3 cams. You're gonna want to get into this cycle of flipping the camera, checking 1 to 3 cams, flipping down the camera, flashing left and right halls, and stab YBF if necessary. The most fuel efficient way to check the halls is by holding the left mouse button and flicking from left to right or vice versa. If Minnie gets in the office, just flip up the camera again. One character you should really be careful of in the office is Shade Oswald. Unlike Shade P&M, Oswald likes to kinda stand to the side of the hallways, and especially on the left side, he can be pretty easy to miss since you're pretty much only blinking the light and immediately going back in cams. So if you feel like Oswald hasn't appeared in a while, you should start blinking the lights twice before going in cams, just to be safe. I recommend you go into a custom night with no one active and just practice collecting the Mickey heads. You should memorize all the spots the heads can spawn in to make it much easier to find them during the max mode. One very annoying thing I realized when playing True Limbo is that the Mickey head in Cam 10 can be completely hidden when the camera pans towards the left, and waiting for the camera to pan back can take a while. So a tip for reducing the chance of a Mickey head spawning there is to leave your cam on cam 9 after you've collected a Mickey head. Since Mickey heads try not to spawn on the same camera you're on, you can manipulate it so they spawn way less at cam 10, where this annoying panning issue happens, reducing the chance of a cam 10 spawn to 1 in 64. Now, you might be asking yourself, but if you want them to not spawn in cam 10, why the hell are we watching cam 9? Don't worry, I can answer that. When the Mickey heads pick a camera to spawn in, they roll a number from 1 to 9, each number representing a camera. However, Mickey heads can't spawn in cam 9, so if they roll the number 9, the Mickey head spawns in what should be cam 9, but it actually gets kicked into cam 10 instead. That's why it must be in cam 9 to reduce the amount of Mickey heads spawning in cam 10. Pretty neat stuff, right? If Shay Donald possesses a Mickey head, switch off the camera you're looking at and then back. A really awesome thing about Shay Donald is that you can use him to tell if the Mickey head you're looking at is fake or not. If you switch off a possessed head and then back and the Mickey head is still possessed, that Mickey head is false, so you can just move on to the other cams. The last thing I gotta go over is YBF hide. Losing YBF can be pretty scary, especially if he decides to make a run for it while Oswald or P&M are in one of the halls. So like with Mickey heads, you should memorize all 4 spots YBF can be in, and also, every time you flip down the camera and check the halls, pay attention if the YBF button on the bottom right appears. If not, that means he escaped and you should find him as fast as possible. Obviously, none of this matters if you're playing Limbo. And that's the strategy for both of the max modes. It's really simple. If I were to compare it to a max mode, I'd say this is very similar to Have Fun from Five Nights at the Gangs. The cycle of checking a cam, flipping the camera down and dealing with office characters, then going back while finding and clicking on Mickey heads, really reminded me of the cycle for that max mode too. Now, obviously, Have Fun doesn't take nearly as long as Limbo or True Limbo, but you get what I mean. One little fun fact before I wrap up this section is that you actually don't need sound at all to complete this. So if you're not a big fan of Radiant's team's completely balanced jump scare volumes, you can just mute the game and beat this max mode no problem. I do recommend putting on some music or something, because this can get really boring. With the post-mortem section done, let's get to the second to last section of this video, the Creepypasta challenges. When you select the custom night menu, you can right-click the custom night button to show the post-mortem menu. But if you right-click again, it takes you to the Creepypasta menu. In here, you have 4 completely unique challenges involving popular Creepypasta characters. Those are Jeff the Killer, Slenderman, Smile Dog, and Eyeless Jack. Beating these challenges award you with new characters you can turn on for the custom nights. Each of the Creepypasta nights have a normal and a hard mode. And before you guys comment, oh, what about evil mode? No, evil mode isn't actually in the game. Nephurite had an unreleased build where evil mode was a thing, but the current version of OBLITUS CASA, version 2.0.5, evil mode doesn't exist. But anyway, let's begin with the first challenge, Jeff the Killer. The Jeff the Killer night takes place in the post-mortem building. The only threat coming for you here is, obviously, Jeff the Killer. The goal for beating the night is turning on all 10 cameras in the camera system while avoiding Jeff on either one of the halls in the office. To turn on a camera, all you have to do is hold the left mouse button and it'll start charging up. While holding down a camera, it'll charge up by 2% every 0.28 second, meaning it'll take a minimum 14 seconds to fully charge a camera. Obviously, this won't be the case because Jeff the Killer will try to stop you from doing so. Jeff will be roaming around throughout the cameras in the building. Once he reaches cam 2, the next time he moves, he'll enter the right hallway. Once he reaches cam 7, his next movement will be at the left hallway. How fast he moves is dependent on how many cameras you've turned on. This is a table with all his movement timers for each milestone you reach during the night. When Jeff gets to one of your hallways, you have 3 to 4 seconds to shine the light on him to send him away. If you fail to do so and you haven't booted up at least 4 cams, Jeff will appear in front of your desk. When he appears, you have 2.5 to 3.5 seconds to keep your cursor still in the office, or else he jump scares you. After you turn on 4 or more cameras, Jeff getting in will instantly be a game over. Since you're using the lantern for the hallway lights, it would only make sense that you have fuel for this night as well. You get 30 seconds of fuel for the entire Jeff the Killer minigame. Each time you flash the hallway he's in, you use about 1.25 seconds of fuel. If you use the light wrong, however, you're gonna use 3 seconds of fuel instead. The fuel for this minigame is pretty tight, so really make sure you know when Jeff is actually there. The strategy to beat this night is very simple. At the beginning of the night, start by booting up cams 2 and 7. You can't really know when Jeff is gonna attack at this point, so every time he appears, you will have to stand still. Once both cams are up, you're gonna get into the cycle of charging up a camera, then checking cams 2 and 7. If you see Jeff in one of the 2 cams, keep charging and check that camera until he disappears, at which point you flash the corresponding side. If you want to be even more fuel efficient, only start actually dealing with Jeff after charging up 3 cams. And that's the entire minigame. I know it seems pretty boring, and it kinda is, but hey, at least you get banger background music while you're at it. I'm just gonna stick it. Photo negative Mickey! I wanna see my head come off. Hell nah. Now for the hard mode version of this minigame. With hard mode enabled, Jeff locks in, and the time to reboot cams is increased. Each cam now takes 18.67 seconds to fully charge. Jeff's speed will be immediately maxed out as soon as you reboot the first camera. The timer for Jeff to enter the office has also been reduced to only 2 to 2.7 seconds. meaning you gotta be extra fast as soon as he disappears from Chem 2 in the 7. Thankfully, to compensate for this change, the lantern fuel has been increased to 54 seconds. The last change is that Jeff will start insta-killing upon entering the office after 3 cams have been activated instead of 4. So now you can only abuse the office mechanic for the first 2 cameras. The strategy for this night doesn't really change though, so just follow the same gameplay loop as the normal version. You should probably stop checking whenever he leaves from Chem 2 and 7 though, since his kill timer is really short. When you see Jeff in either cam, give it about 1.5 seconds and flip down the camera, immediately flashing whichever side he came from. Beating this challenge on normal unlocks the second of the 6 custom night exclusive characters, Photo Negative Mickey. Also, in case you're wondering who's the first, that's actually Cabin Face. You unlock them by beating Night 5 of the story mode. Beating the hard mode challenge doesn't unlock anything. Good job, bucko, you just wasted your time. Well, technically when you beat the hard mode challenge, you get the red star, but, I mean, apart from that, nothing. The second Creepypasta challenge is the one and only Slenderman. His minigame is exactly what you'd expect. You have to collect 8 pages while avoiding Slenderman by not staring at him. It's that simple. Or else it would be if you weren't stuck in a linear tunnel system. For this challenge, you're placed in the tunnels, which makes Slenderman way more annoying than in their actual game. The way Slenderman works is pretty simple. While you're at 0 of 8 pages, Slenderman won't be active. As soon as you grab the first page, he'll begin hunting. Slenderman moves around the tunnels by teleporting. The more pages you collect, the faster he teleports around. When Slenderman teleports, he'll look at 2 things: the direction you were facing when entering a corridor, and if you're within one of the corridors. If you are in the corridor, he'll teleport in the direction you were facing when you enter that corridor. Have I said corridor enough yet? The reason why I'm being oddly specific with this is because normally you'd think he just teleports in front of whatever you're facing. But it's actually not like that. You can enter a corridor and then face the other way. Slenderman will technically teleport behind you. If you're in an intersection and not in any hallway, he'll teleport in a random direction. After Slenderman teleports, he has a 1 in 3 chance to be put on an 8-second cooldown or a 15-second cooldown, or else it would be near impossible to traverse anywhere after grabbing a few pages. Lastly, there's a secret mechanic to Slenderman that can be pretty scary to deal with. For every second interval that you're staring Slenderman on, a variable called n increases by 1. Once this variable reaches 20, Slenderman will teleport behind you. Now, at first you might think that's stupid. I mean, just keep going forwards and you're fine, right? But if you stop to think about it properly, this is actually really scary. When he teleports behind you, you were previously staring at him on the opposite side. What any reasonable human being would do after staring at Slenderman is to turn the opposite way. And that's where Slenderman will be after this special move. Personally, I've never died to this mechanic, but when it happened, it sure was scary. Dude, thank God I could still like turn around in game. What? Why? Now, you could wander around aimlessly and grab pages as you go, but there's a really good strategy to beat this in the most efficient way possible. The map layout will always be the same. It's a 4x4 grid, and where each one of the pages spawn is actually predetermined. There are 3 possible layouts the game will choose when you begin the challenge, and I'll put them here on the screen for you to look at. The white dot on the map is where you'll appear at the beginning of the night, so to know which layout you're currently in, you should start by heading east and checking if there's a page on the right wall of the hallway. If there isn't, then you're dealing with layout 3. So you can just pull that up on your second monitor or your phone and go from there. If there's a page, then it's either layout 1 or 2. So what you want to do now is head back and then north. If you see a page on the left wall of the hallway, then you're on layout 1. If not, then it's layout 2. Now, simply follow the map and avoid Slenderman whenever he appears and you shouldn't have any trouble with this challenge. Yeah, like as soon as he spawns, we just need to make as much ground as possible. Aha! Nice. Who the fuck? Slester? Alright. When you activate hard mode, Slenderman becomes way more challenging. Instead of a regular flashlight, you're given a hand crank flashlight that you'll have to manually crank to charge up. The less battery it has, the more dim the light will get. To recharge your light, you gotta hold right click. Your battery takes 40 seconds to run out, and to fully recharge it from 0% to 100, it takes 16 seconds, so make sure to crank it often. While you're recharging, you're not slowed down or anything, so there's no downside to it. At the beginning of the night, Slenderman isn't active, just like normal mode. But if you take longer than 45 seconds to grab the first page, Slenderman will forcefully activate and at max aggression. So you should book it for the first page immediately. For this difficulty, I want to talk about an ability Slenderman has that he also had back in normal mode, but in hard mode it's much more noticeable. When Slenderman teleports to you, he'll appear at a certain distance away from where you currently stand. This distance varies depending on how many pages you've collected, but what really matters here is a variable called S, that increases the closer he is to the player. When this variable S reaches 50, Slenderman will begin something called chase mode, where he'll chase you as soon as you turn around. The reason why this never really happens in normal mode is because Slenderman never teleports close enough for chase mode to occur, but on hard mode, it can actually happen. Now, as for the strategy to beat this mode, I'd love to show you a similar thing to what we had on normal mode, but for that difficulty, we only had 3 sets of page spawns to work with. On hard mode, there are literally 20 sets of pages. I'm gonna leave the link to Niko Frost's OBLITUS CASA AI document in the description, and there he goes in detail about all 20 sets, so if you want to learn more about the page spawns, consider checking it out. Your best way of completing this challenge will be by going fast, and to do that, we're gonna need a way to collect the pages quickly. Unfortunately, the map strat won't work, so now we're gonna need an efficient way of scanning the walls for pages, and I might just have that. If you look at one of the possible map layouts for hard mode, you can see that all the page spots are always in the center of the hallways. So when you enter a corridor, instead of slowly checking through, you can run towards the middle and then check both walls. I tried doing this by just looking at the minimap, but it didn't seem too reliable, plus it makes avoiding Slenderman way harder, since my focus isn't on what's in front of me. Thankfully, there's a better way to find the center of the hallway. I call this the metal pipe strat. Every hallway in the tunnels has 6 metal pipes throughout its length. So when you enter a hallway, count the pipes. 1, 2, 3, and look up to check if there's a page on either wall. This is by far the best way to find these pages without wasting a lot of time, since each second wasted means less crank light battery. Speaking of the crank light, this thing runs out pretty fast, so I recommend charging the light every time you're in an intersection or when you're sure Slenderman isn't chasing you. To prevent Slenderman's chase mode, you have to turn around as fast as you can when he appears. If you didn't see Slenderman before turning around, then you were probably far enough to where he didn't activate chase mode. If you did see him though, you should start running until he teleports again. The idea behind this chase mode is simpler than you think. It's basically just a circle around Slenderman, and if you're in that circle, he's gonna chase you, and if you're outside of that circle, then he won't. So basically, whenever he appears, you can just run away, and you're most likely gonna be out of this range. One thing I haven't mentioned that I probably should have all the way back in normal mode is that one of the pages will always appear in the key room, which is also a completely safe room for you to stay in and take a breather. Though be careful because there is a bug where you leave the room and instantly get jump scared. I don't know what's going on with that. I recommend leaving that room for the last page, since when you reach 7 out of 8 pages, Slenderman becomes a demon, and the last thing you want is taking too long to find the last page while Slenderman is at his peak. This is a pretty tough challenge, and sometimes it'll feel like Slenderman is not letting you go anywhere, but with enough patience and enough cranking, you should be able to complete this and get yourself another red star. The third creepypasta challenge is Smile Dog. I'm just gonna say this now, this challenge is so much harder than any of the other ones. Mechanically at least. Though the funny thing about it is that with the right strategy, it can also be beaten in less than a minute. The Smile Dog Knight has you in the main game's cabin. The goal to beat the Knight is very simple. Erase the notepad completely and win the Knight. However, this is one hard to erase drawing. And to make things worse, after 11.5 seconds, Smile Dog will appear either in the cameras or in the attic. If Smile Dog is active somewhere, the sketch in the notepad will redraw itself slowly, undoing your progress. If it appears in cams, you have to find them in any of the cams and flash the camera. Smile Dog will show up in a random camera 3 times before disappearing. Alternatively, if they're in the attic, you'll have to go up there and place the lighter over them. Though it's pretty hard to see where they are. The good thing is that on normal, Smile Dog only shows up in the middle of the attic. On hard mode, it won't be as simple. After getting past Smile Dog's attack, the notepad will stop reversing progress and will be able to be erased again. I forgot to mention that while Smile Dog is active, you cannot erase the notepad at all. And that's how the mechanics of the Knight work, but it's a bit more complicated than it seems. Initially, it takes 11.5 seconds for Smile Dog to spawn. After that, it'll spawn after 23 seconds instead. But when it does spawn, this 23-second timer starts ticking down again immediately, meaning the longer you take to deal with him, the faster he'll come back. Once Smile Dog is attacking, the screen will start getting overly saturated. If you take too long to deal with Smile Dog's attack, you get jump scared. Thankfully, when you get rid of him, the screen will start turning normal again. The problem with this challenge is simply being too slow. If you take a long time, you'll have very little time to erase the drawing and his kill timer won't reset by a lot. So you want to realize when Smile Dog begins their attack and quickly either flash him 3 times in the cameras or deal with him in the attic. A big tip for completing this mode with ease is to master the erasing mechanic. To erase in the most efficient way possible, you have to erase the most distance as fast as you can. The best way to erase is to make this circular motion around the entire notepad. I've seen people doing horizontal and vertical erases, but they're not as effective. Doing the circular motion is definitely your best bet. With enough speed and erasing, you should be able to complete Smile Dog on normal mode. Okay, this should be it though. Come on! Get out! Ugh! Oswald! That was shit. That was really annoying for my arm, not gonna lie. Now, before we move on to the hard mode version of this Creepypasta challenge, I want to take this time to teach you guys the Smile Dog speedrun strategy. If you've played this challenge before, or just now had a try at it after watching me explain it, you've definitely realized that this mode is pretty taxing and takes around 3 to 4 minutes to complete. Now, although that isn't that much time, what if I told you you can beat this challenge in as little as 30 seconds? I know this sounds ridiculous, but I'll explain how this is possible. When Smile Dog attacks, they can appear in either the cams or the attic. The cam attack generally takes at least 6 to 8 seconds to get fully dealt with. The attic attack, on the other hand, can be done in literally 2 seconds. So I present to you the attic percent strategy. This speedrun strat is very simple. When the night starts, erase as fast as you can. Here, you can use another strategy that I personally use to erase really fast without breaking my hand. My mouse is a Logitech G305. Not sponsored by the way, but if you do want to, I'm down. It has 4 DPI settings, 400 DPI, 800, 1600, and 3200. If your mouse has DPI options like mine, you can change the DPI to 3200 to erase the notepad. Then simply change back when Smile Dog starts his attack. Now, for this strategy, you can just rock 3200 DPI the whole time. But this is very useful in hard mode, which I'll explain very soon. But basically, the strategy is as follows. Erase as much as you can at the beginning, and when Smile Dog spawns, immediately head into the attic. If he's not there, simply restart the night and try again. If he is there, get rid of him and start erasing the notepad ASAP. If done correctly, you should be able to finish erasing the entire drawing and beat the night in about 30 to 40 seconds. The good thing about this strategy is that it's really quick to retry, and it also trivializes this challenge in ways I've never seen before in any FNAF game. Another thing I want to mention is that Smile Dog speedruns are actually a thing. On speedrun.com, there are speedruns of Smile Dog both on normal and hard mode. So I want to challenge you guys to try and speedrun Smile Dog. Any difficulty you want, just get your name in the leaderboards. Who knows, maybe someone will get a new world record. On hard mode, this challenge gets actually difficult. Instead of flashing Smile Dog 3 times in the cameras, you now have to flash him 6 times in total before you get to erase the drawing again. Alternatively, attic attacks now begin with 3 Smile Dog flashes, and then he moves into the attic, meaning you can't just abuse the attic strat I mentioned before. Luckily, to compensate for this change, he'll redraw himself twice as slow, and also take longer to kill you, going from 13 seconds to 24. Though Smile Dog on hard mode is still a really difficult challenge. You now need crazy fast speed on the cameras if you want to survive. This is what a good camera cycle looks like. So, if you want to beat this mode, practice being really fast in cams, because you will need it. The DPI change strat still works here, so abuse it as much as possible. There's another really good strategy for finding Smile Dog in cams. Whenever you see them at either cam 9 or 1, check the other cam immediately. This is because of how Smile Dog picks the next camera to move to. Basically, when you flash Smile Dog, the next camera he'll pick will be either ascending or descending in order. So for an example, if he's in cam 7, he'll move to either cam 8 or 9, or cam 6, 5, 4, 3, or 2. He won't go to cam 1 because he can only ascend or descend from 1 to 5 cams. But the interaction that really matters here is whenever he's at cam 9 or 1. Because those are the very top and very bottom of the cam order respectively, if he decides to ascend while being at cam 9, or descend while being in cam 1, the game automatically chooses cam 1 and cam 9 respectively. Which means there's a higher chance for Smile Dog to move between those cams than any other cam. Oh yeah, one more thing. When Smile Dog is in the attic, they can now appear on the left or right side of the attic instead of just the middle, wasting a bit more time than usual. And now for the last Creepypasta challenge in OBLITUS CASA. Eyeless Jack. Compared to Smile Dog, this is like Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby. I'd say this is probably the easiest out of all the 4 Creepypasta nights. For this challenge, you're yet again placed in the tunnels. No pages to collect here though, and it's also really dark. The goal is to catch Eyeless Jack in the trails and take a picture of him 5 times. The only issues here are 1, you can't see much at all, and 2, Eyeless Jack is completely invisible. You have to rely on the sound of his footsteps to find where he is. To see where you gotta go, you must flash your camera to catch a glimpse of the path ahead. The only problem is how Eyeless Jack works. He'll always be roaming around somewhere in the tunnels, and you must track him by listening to the footsteps. However, if you flash your camera in front of him and he's too far away, he'll begin chase mode, where he'll, chase you until you break line of sight. So you must flash the light to traverse around the halls, but also be careful not to flash when Eyeless Jack is in front of you, but not within range of capturing a good picture. If you take more than 6 minutes to take all 5 pictures, Eyeless Jack will enter a running out of time state, where the music will change and you'll have an extra 2 minutes and 30 seconds before Jack just kills you. As for the strategy for this night, I'm not gonna lie, just increase your gamma to see in the hallways. It makes going around the tunnels way easier and you have no issues with flashing at the wrong time. If you don't want to do that, it's okay. Just use the camera flash to see where you gotta go. It's not that much harder. If you end up flashing Eyeless Jack and he's too far, just run away a little and retry. There's really no threat here. On hard mode, a few things change. You're placed in a bigger version of the tunnels, now being a 5x5 grid instead of a 4x4. You have to get 10 pictures instead of 5. Eyeless Jack walks much faster. And lastly, the "you're running out of time" sequence happens after 6 minutes and 30 seconds instead of just 6 minutes. The strategy doesn't change much though. Just make sure to be fast and don't mess up too many pictures. With the creepypastas out of the way, it's finally time for the final section in the ultimate OBLITUS CASA guide, the custom nights. This is the very last menu in the game, and also where the hardest OBLITUS CASA challenge lies, True Nightmare. Who would have thought, a Radiance team max mode called True Nightmare? But anyway, in the custom night menu, you get to choose which characters you want to play against from 0 to 20 AI. There are 12 characters in custom night. 6 being from the main game, and another 6 being completely custom night exclusive characters. However, when you reach this menu, you'll only have the first character unlocked, Cabin Face. The other characters are the locks behind challenges you have to complete, which I already went over, but I never explained which challenges unlock what. Beating Night 5 unlocks Cabin Face, which is why you have it as soon as you unlock this menu. Completing Jeff the Killer, Slenderman, Smile Dog, and Eyeless Jack on normal or hard unlocks Photonegative Mickey, Slester, Oswald, and Inkblot Mick respectively. As for the last character, you have to complete one of the presets in the custom night menu, called Nightmare. This challenge consists of the 6 base game characters, all on 20 AI. The good thing about this max mode is that it teaches you the base of the True Nightmare strategy. What's the strategy, you ask? Well, let's get into it, shall we? Playing Nightmare for the first time, the first thing you'll notice is the insane speed on Willy, Dippy, and Photonegative Minnie. Keeping them at bay here is way more difficult than the last time we saw them on night 4. The notepad also builds up a lot faster. This is because the speed at which the notepad builds up is dependent on the total AI value of your custom night. And yes, that does mean the notepad is even faster on True Nightmare. But anyway, to make sure you don't get absolutely destroyed here, you have to follow a cycle. However, at the very beginning of the night, we have the setup phase first. What you want to do here is listen to the music and wait for the 3rd bell sound. This is what you're listening for. When you hear that, get in cams and lure Willy and Dippy to cam 1, then cam 5. Like in night 4, this is where you want to keep them until the lure runs out. After that, click on cam 2 and flash Minnie. This next part is very important. Instead of going straight to cam 8 and flashing Minnie again, you want to click on a different cam first, then cam 8. This is because for this challenge, we want to make sure we're always flashing Minnie together with Daisy. At max AI, Daisy appears on every other cam you switch to, so make sure to keep track of your cam switches. During this whole sequence, you'll already have heard an attic sound, so after pushing Minnie back to cam 9, head into the attic. If you see Pete, head down and erase the notepad, then lure on cam 5. If it's Corrupted Face, head down and immediately go to cam 5 and lure again. From now on, what you want to do is lure Willy and Dippy to cam 5, flash Minnie at cam 8, erase the notepad, lure at cam 5, flash Minnie, go into the attic. It's really simple. The only thing that will trouble you is whenever the lure runs out, but I'll explain how you want to do it. For cam 5, you can exhaust the entire lure. When the lure runs out, play the cycle as normal, but without luring Willy and Dippy. When you come back from the attic, Willy will have moved to cam 3 and Dippy to cam 7, so you want to lure them into cam 1 from now on. Usually the lure will last for about 2 minutes, so that means you'll use up 2 cams lures throughout the entire night. When the cam 1 lure is about to run out, you want to lure them to cam 1, then quickly to cam 7. Flash Minnie and continue the cycle as normal. Willy and Dippy will be slightly delayed next cycle, but it shouldn't matter. If you get to Chem 7 and the cycle isn't broken, congratulations, you've completed the nightmare. Bang. Very nice. Did you do night 6 when I was gone? I'll be honest, I don't even know where night 6 is. What the? The Corruptus? This Mortimer? And just like that, the last character from the custom night is unlocked. Corruptus. With all 6 of the custom night exclusive characters unlocked, it's time to go over what each of them do. Most of these characters are ridiculously simple though, so this won't take too long. Let's begin with Cabin Face. This character is the third and last added character in the OBLITUS CASA. When Cabin Face appears, you hear a bouncing sound up in the attic. When you head up there, an eyeball will be bouncing around on the screen. To prevent being jump scared, you must catch this eyeball before Cabin Face takes action. This character has the same kill timer as Corrupted Face, so at 20 AI, you get 10 seconds to grab the eyeball. To do so, you have to right click with the lighter over it. So the best way to do this is by holding left click so you can see and spamming right click while following the eyeball. You should listen to the panning of the sound cue to pre-aim which side the eyeball is at, and also keep the lighter in the middle of the screen and only move left and right. Next up are Photonegative Mickey, or PNM for short, and Oswald. The reason why I'm explaining these two together is because they work literally the exact same way. Both of them will be moving around the building and saying some voice lines, though they aren't in the office yet. Unlike most of the others roaming around, you can't stop PNM and Oswald from entering the office. When they do enter, you'll hear a distinct sound cue along with a drone sound. When you hear this, that's when you gotta take action. To prevent either PNM or Oswald from killing you, you have to shut off any camera in the cam system. This can be done by pressing the spacebar button in whichever camera you're currently on. If you've seen my Fnati but Dumb guide, this is gonna look very similar. When the camera is shut off, it'll be usable again after 34 seconds. Once either of them are in the office, you get from 4 to 4.5 seconds to shut a camera before dying. One important detail about these two is that if both of them are active at once, you have to shut off 2 cameras. You can't just close one cam and deal with both of them in one go. The next character from the custom nights is Slester. This character is the only one from the 6 that doesn't kill at all. The way Slester works is whenever he appears in the office, you must look away from him. If he appears on the left, you have to pan the camera to the right. If he's on the right, you gotta look left. And if he's in the middle, flipping up the camera will get rid of him. Letting Slester be active will slowly make your vision more and more glitchy. His whole deal is just to make it harder for you to see things, nothing else. Though I have to say, whenever he gets a max anger, seeing anything in the attic is like actually impossible. The second to last character is IB Mikmik, or Inkblot Mikmik. This is hands down the simplest character in the game, and probably the easiest to deal with too. IB Mikmik will appear on the right side of the office after around 10 to 15 seconds. Once he's there, you get 3.5 seconds to blink to get rid of him. To blink, all you have to do is press the shift key on your keyboard. The reason why this character is so easy is because you can blink literally everywhere. In the attic, in cams, in the office, everywhere. The only moment you can't blink is during the animation of going up or down the stairs to the attic. When Inkblot Mikmik spawns, he'll make this laughing sound until you blink or you get jump scared. The final custom night character and final character of OBLITUS CASA is Corruptus. Corruptus is basically the Willy from Fnati but dumb. He'll begin outside of the building in a camera called Camera -1. However, he'll have his duplicates be all around the building. If you stare at one of his duplicates for about 1 second, Corruptus will advance in cam. Staring at more duplicates will make him advance to cam 1, cam 3, cam 6, and then your office. So basically you cannot stare at his duplicates more than 4 times. The trick to avoid them is simple. You can either close cams and open them again, or switch off to another cam. There are 2 situations that will stall the duplicates from making Corruptus advance. If you're luring either Willy or Dippy, the duplicates will be stalled. If Daisy is active in the same camera as a duplicate, they will be stalled. And that's pretty much it. Although this character sounds simple, they're probably the most annoying character in the game while playing True Nightmare. And now we've reached the final and main attraction of this video, True Nightmare. This is the hardest challenge in OBLITUS CASA, sitting at number 67 on the max mode list. Wait, number what?
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Though you might have noticed something about this max mode. No post-mortem. And yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking. To complete this challenge and get your completion verified in the max mode list, you have to beat it without going to post-mortem, meaning you don't get to use the second chance OBLITUS CASA gives you. If I were to summarize what this max mode is about, I'd say it's mostly a knowledge-based max mode, with a bit of speed involved. Hence why I'm making this guide video. Like seriously, this mode needs some brain. But don't get intimidated by it, because with this video, I'm sure you'll be able to beat this challenge. The first thing I want to go over is how different this is from regular Nightmare. When it comes to the 6 characters on the top row, the Night play is exactly the same. All of what I explained in the Nightmare section of the video will still apply when it comes to those characters. The biggest change here are PNM, Oswald, and Corruptus. PNM and Oswald are the characters who change this mode from a brainless cycle to a bit more of an adapted version of the cycle. This is because you're constantly having to switch cams to close them in order to avoid them. What this does though is it desyncs Minnie with Daisy, meaning that you have to learn to resync them to do so multiple times throughout the night. Not only that, but you also have to keep track of which cameras you shut off, since they only come back on after 34 seconds. Corruptus on the other hand is just really annoying. He makes it so you pretty much can't stay still in any camera. You have to constantly be aware of his presence wherever you go in the camera system. The other 3 characters don't really add up a lot to the night. Slester is probably the one guy that does make a slight difference, but I'll explain how to deal with them in the next section, the True Nightmare strategy. When the night begins, you'll play it exactly like Nightmare. The only difference is when you hear the 3rd bell ring, you're gonna flip up and down and up again before doing the start setup. This is because there's a chance Corruptus is in cam 1 right off the bat. After bringing Willy and Dippy to cam 5 and Minnie to cam 9, go into the attic. Here it's also pretty much the same, though if you get cabin face in the attic, depending on how fast you grab the eyeball, you can erase the notepad before luring. One thing you gotta make sure to do is immediately luring as soon as you go into cam 5. You can get away with luring Willy and Dippy and switching to cam 8 before Corruptus gets to progress. Any time wasted before hitting the lure button will most certainly mean they'll advance. After flashing Minnie, this is when PNM and Oswald will appear for the first time. So what you want to do is flash Minnie, erase the notepad, and quickly close the cam for PNM. Oswald will appear about when Willy and Dippy are moving, so you can stall Oswald a bit, lure Willy and Dippy, then shut off a cam. After that, flash Minnie, and repeat the cycle. PNM and Oswald are very annoying to deal with, especially because they'll appear at random intervals throughout the night. But the bigger problem about them is remembering which cams you've already shut off. Before figuring out the best way to close cams, I want to mention which cams are good to be shut off and which aren't. The cams in green are cams you should prioritize shutting off. They serve no purpose other than for PNM and Oswald. The cams in yellow are cams you can shut off, but should only do so as an emergency. There aren't any cams you should never shut off, but shutting cams that you want to actively be looking at can lead to Corruptus moving since you can't see him if he's there or not. You would think Minnie's cam should never be shut off, but it's actually completely fine to do so. This is because when you flash Minnie successfully, you hear a sound cue indicating she left the camera. This also happens with Wooly and Dippy, so you can track them purely by sound. Another reason why Minnie's cam is okay to be closed is because if you're keeping Minnie and Daisy synced, there's no risk of Corruptus moving since Daisy stalls it. But anyway, to keep track of which cams are shut off or not, you should follow an order of cams to shut. Once you finish closing the last camera in the order, you can simply go back to the first cam and it'll be back on. One thing that could happen during the night is PNM or Oswald appearing right when you're about to head into the attic. If this happens, you should immediately head back in cams and shut off a cam. Do not try to go into the attic and then shut off a cam because you do not have the time for that. When an attic character spawns that isn't Pete, they take 10 seconds to jump scare you, so if you need to take your time with something, you're allowed to. Just make sure that after luring Willy and Dippy and flashing Minnie, you don't take too long to be back and repeating the cycle, because if any of them manage to escape, your run is pretty much over. The second to last thing I want to talk about is Daisy tracking. Daisy is easily the most annoying character to deal with if you're not experienced enough. Since you're constantly switching cams for PNM and Oswald, keeping Daisy in sync is way harder than on regular Nightmare. So you should really make sure to keep track of your cam switches. If you just shut off PNM or Oswald before heading into the attic, you're gonna have to flash Daisy, then lure Willy and Dippy. This also means you're off cycle, so when switching to cam 8s, make sure to click on another cam before doing so to resync them. This takes a while to get used to, but with enough practice, you'll be able to do it subconsciously. And the last character I want to go over is Slester. Even though he doesn't kill you, letting him build up is definitely not recommended. Slester makes your vision really bad after a while. The reason why Slester gets to build up at all is because when you're in cams, he can decide to appear on the left side of the office, and that does count as looking at Slester, for some reason. So when he spawns, you gotta be aware of a few things. The screen blinking when he appears, the sound he makes, and obviously his visual. To get rid of him, simply flick the camera towards the notepad, then back. Avoiding Slester completely is pretty much impossible anyway, so just get used to a bit of a glitchy screen in the last hours. Don't forget to pay attention to Slester and track Daisy, and you should be able to complete OBLITUS CASA's hardest challenge and obtain the last star in the game, the True Nightmare Star. Yes! Let's go! Easy! Easy, easy, easy! Yippee! Let's go, man! True Nightmare no post-mortem. Number 67 on the main list. What the hell? And with that, we finally come to the end of the Ultimate OBLITUS CASA guide. I want to take this time to shout out the absolute goated individual called Niko Frost. He took multiple days decoding the game and figuring out literally everything about it. Without him, this video would never have been possible, so massive shout out to him. I'd also appreciate it if you were to like the video and subscribe. This guide video was easily the hardest one for me to make. Like, there's so much in this game, and it wouldn't have been an ultimate guide if I didn't go over everything. I even went through the trouble of beating True Limbo and True Nightmare no post-mortem just to make sure I could explain the best strategy for them. So if you want to see more guides on other games, make sure to hit that like button. Lastly, don't forget to join my Discord server to keep up with everything I've been doing, or talk about FNAF, strategize about max modes, anything. It's a really good place if you're a beginner max moder, veteran, it doesn't matter. The invite link is, as always, in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video, which you really won't want to miss. Trust me, the curse is broken. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye.